Look, staying healthy isn't easy. Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed is the only bed that effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. Don't miss our weekend special. Save $1,000 on our most popular smart bed and adjustable base. Plus special financing. Ends Monday. Special financing subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See store for details.
Now more than ever, it's important for you and your family to enjoy the spaces you're in most often. Visit FergusonShowrooms.com to shop online or schedule a personalized consultation to meet with our experts at your local Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting Gallery. Together we'll help you make the most of home and create a space you'll love to live in. Get started on your project and discover extraordinary products like the Orizo chandelier from Progress Lighting.
The origin was back in my late 20s, so I'm 45 now. I can't remember. I was talking to some friends, and I think inevitably when you get a group of, especially guys together, at some point over their relationship, someone says, we ought to do a trip every year. 99 out of 100 times, it never happens.
Before we jump right into today's episode, I wanted to make you aware of a new sponsor we have, Rerouted. If you remember a few months ago, we had Chap Grubb on the show. He's the founder of Rerouted. And what Rerouted is a place to buy and sell used gear. They make it super easy, super affordable, very user-friendly website for both buying and selling gear. And you know, in the show, we talk a lot about, like, don't let gear stop you. Obviously, you need gear to do certain things, but you don't need the craziest, newest, whatever technology. You know, the tried and true stuff, just whatever gets you out there and on the adventure, whatever your budget is, that's what you need to do. And Rerouted is a great place to start looking for the gear you need. It's unique, it's one of a kind, because it's kind of like a gear yard sale, just all online. Very easy shopping experience. And also, when it comes to selling your gear, they make it really easy to upload gear to sell. You can also donate your gear right to Rerouted of whatever they sell the gear for. They'll donate 50% right to the charity of your choice. And it's just an easy way to get things out of your closet so that you're not, wasting the gear there or throwing it in a landfill, or just, letting it sit there and rot. Get the gear out there, get it used. And if you're looking for something, I would definitely check Rerouted, but just wanted to announce that before we get going. And also to check them out, go to rerouted.co. That's rerouted.co. It's also in the show notes, but yeah, just super excited about that. But anyway, to get into today's episode, we are talking to someone that set up this incredible formula that gets him and his friends out on a yearly adventure every single year without fail for the last 15 years, doing some pretty incredible stuff. I don't know about you, but to get my friends together and to do something, it's a lot of dang work. We're all busy. We've all at different stages of life. We're around the country sometimes from each other, but even the friends that live close by, it's hard to get everything to line up perfectly. And so Frazer has figured out a way to make that happen without fail. And he's going to talk to us about it, how you do that as an adult. Like, it's crazy how much you got to schedule. Like, if me and my friends want to hang out or my brothers want to hang out, we got to write it down in the calendar months in advance. And I also want to say I talked to Frazer a couple months ago, quite a handful of months ago, actually. And it was so inspiring hearing this. I told my friends about it, and we decided that we weren't going to do a big trip. We were going to actually commit to every other month having at least one weekend full of adventure, at least a 24-hour experience every other month. Once a quarter was like, it feels kind of distant, 4 times a year. I feel like we could do more. But then once a month, just, one out of every 4 weekends doing something, I don't know, that just kind of felt a little too much. And so we decided that every other month we were going to do something. That would give us 6 pretty cool trips every year. And then make one of them a bigger trip so that we have something really big to look forward to. And, these are 24-hour paddling trips down rivers, cycling trips, all kinds of backpacking stuff. So far, so good. We've done about 3, And it's just something really cool to look forward to. I did my last one a couple weekends ago, and we've got another one coming up, and we're just planning it out, figuring it out, and it's super easy to pull off with kids, with family. We're gone no more than 30 hours or so. It's just super simple. So I would encourage you to have some sort of structure like that, some sort of formula to just help make these things consistent. Every Sunday night, I know I'm working on this podcast. It's the structure in my life that makes this happen. So I encourage you to learn from Frazer. And I hope you enjoy the episode. Here he goes. Hey folks, welcome to the podcast. Y'all heard a little bit about it in the intro. It's just such a cool idea. I can't wait to hear more about it. There's a lot I don't know, so I'm very excited to talk. Frazer, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Mason. I'm really glad to be here and look forward to catching up with you.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit before. You told me that you're in Nashville, but tell us, where is home for you and where are you from? And just kind of your background and interest in sports in general, if you don't mind going all the way back.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am actually I live in Nashville, and I'm a native Nashvilleian, which is extremely rare these days. We have become somehow a hotspot of a city to move to, so it's rare to find someone who is from here. And I have been an outdoorsman and an adventurer all of my life. I grew up on a farm and was exposed to just always being outside. And then as I grew up, just always enjoyed, canoeing and camping and, later in life, trail running a lot and paddleboarding. So have a good network of people here in Nashville, and there's lots of outlets to do things here. So other than that, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a middle-aged guy with kind of a corporate job, but try to get out there quite a bit.
Yeah, native Nashvilleian. That does feel rare. Everybody I know that's moved there has or lives there now has not lived there originally. So, but yeah, so very cool. So the reason we're talking to you is this idea that you and your friends came up with about what you call a big trip or the big trip of the year.
The big trip.
Can you tell us a little bit about what it is and how it came about?
So the big trip, we have just finished our 15th year of the big trip. And the origin was back in my late 20s. So I'm 45 now. In my late 20s, I can't remember. I was talking to some friends, and I think inevitably when you get a group of, especially guys together, at some point over their relationship, someone says, we ought to do a trip every year. And 99 out of 100 times it never happens. But I am a little bit stubborn, and when I say I'm going to do something, I like to do it. So I think it was me who opened my mouth and said we should do a trip every year. So I co-founded with one other friend and launched the idea of the big trip with one kind of classic email out to a group of friends that described the concept and actually what we were going to do on that first trip. And that was the beginning. And once we get into the formula of what makes it work and what does it look like, I think you'll see on how we've made it to 15 years. So it really started with me opening my mouth and wanted to, I guess, walk the talk a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. We do it all the time. We throw ideas around, and it's, you start realizing what it takes to put something like this together, and it's quickly, I'm just going to go watch Netflix instead. And then,
That's right.
6 months goes by and you're catching up on a show. But so you sent it out to how many friends originally?
Yeah. So here was the original one and kind of the original construct. So it was about 12 guys, and our first trip was to float 80 miles of the Yellowstone River outside of Bozeman, Montana. And the way the trip works is it's usually about 12 guys. Normally we do a Wednesday to a Sunday. That's a reasonable amount of time away from work. That's a reasonable amount of time away, where that our wives, give us some leash and not too long away from kids as we've, had kids and gotten older. our first trip was $850 all in, and I'll explain what all in means, but we try to keep it around, $1,200 per person. It's always a point to point. So each day we're moving from this place to that place. It's far from civilization. So we're out in the wilderness, on a river, on a mountain, in the desert, on a lake, wherever. For a long time, it was a no guides. It was a do-it-yourself trip. We have done some guided trips, and it's adventure. This is not a golf trip. This is not, we're going to Hilton Head and we're going to play golf every day. This is really getting out there. And then we finish Saturday night, whatever closest city, and we have a big dinner and celebrate and come home. So that's the general construct of the trip. And that first one was again on the Yellowstone River out in Montana.
So first step for me is get 12 friends. I got about 2 that I'll do adventures with. I need to work on the other, 9 or 10 or so that I can get together. No, that's incredible, man. How did you convince that many people to do something that requires so much? Tell us a little bit about what that first year was like. What were some of maybe the biggest challenges, the unexpected challenges, and maybe your favorite memory from that?
Yeah, so here's the formula. Here's how you start one of these trips, and here's how you run one of these trips. And it is a very distinct formula. The number one rule is don't seek feedback from anybody on anything. You have to be a near dictator on all of this, because if you send an email out and say, hey guys, let's go on a trip, let me know where you want to go, or let me know when you're available, you'll never go. You'll never leave the dock. So what I did was, the second thing is have a partner, have one other person with you, and then you two plan the entire trip, and you plan it soup to nuts, and then you send out one email, and that email says, me and so have planned a trip. Here's the date. Here's the location. Here's the activity we're doing. Here's the outfitter we're using. Here's the cost. This is going to be incredible. You pay in full. It's non-refundable, and we're not changing the dates for anything. And you have to make it that concrete, or you'll never leave the dock. And what people like about it is, it's a trip in a box. It's done, and the payment up front and the all-in nature of it helps as well. So when I say all in, we would coordinate. You pay for your flight, but then we would cover, vans from the airport to the river. We would cover renting the rafts. We would cover all of the food. We would cover, all the beer. We would cover the hotel the final night. We would cover the dinner the final night. So everybody's paid, their $1,000 8 months before the trip. And when they show up on the trip, literally don't have to spend a dime at all on the trip. And the two planners are basically writing all the checks. And the non-refundable nature, it keeps people from bailing. And then the last piece is, if you go on the trip, you have first rights to go on next year's trip. So if you don't go on the trip, you lose your place in line and you ask somebody else. So the fact that if you go, you get to keep going, keeps people from kind of bailing out for whatever reason. So we've had a little bit of ebb and flow in the trip, but that formula for starting it works extremely well.
I love it. I absolutely love it. That is too cool. So this first one, were the rules set up then, or did it become clear that, okay, we need these really, really strict rules in place to prevent the chaos that was, planning the first one?
Yeah. So it was set up. I like to lead things, and I just had a feeling that, and I had been on other trips with guys and smaller trips, but, this was a pretty big deal type of trip. And so we had 2 cargo rafts and 3 canoes. I had found an outfitter, a catering company in Bozeman, and they picked a menu and coordinated with the person we rented the rafts and canoes from. So we had all these meals packed for us and labeled for every day. And we brought stoves and tents and all that stuff, and slept on islands in the middle of the Yellowstone River every night. But I went into it knowing that, it had to be very structured, to keep 12 type A guys, marching in the right direction. So, what turned out to work really well on that trip was on the trip, you don't ask for input either. It's the first morning and you say, John, you and Giles are in the red canoe and you're on breakfast. Jim and Baker are in the blue canoe and you're on lunch. And so you're in the raft and you're on dinner. And you just make the assignments and people are like, great, I'm with so-and-so and he's cool and I'll have a great time with him. And tomorrow I'll be in a different boat with somebody else or a different, whatever, sea kayak or Jeep or you name it. And all I have to do is make lunch today and then I'm done. So making those assignments and just, stepping up and being in charge and don't say, who wants to cook breakfast? If you say who wants to cook breakfast to 12 guys, you're not going to get any hands raised, or the same 2 guys will raise their hands. So that ended up working really well.
Frazer, this is unbelievable, man. You really do have to be a dictator. Now, is there any other way in your life that you have to be this way? I mean, you can't necessarily take that same mindset into the business world, can you?
No, you can't do this anywhere else. You can't do this
unless in a dictatorship. Unless you're planning to start one of those.
You can't do this. Can't do this in your professional life. You can't do this in your family life. You can't do this with your friends or your social. The only place it works is actually with a group. If you're not in charge of the trip, I don't have to make any decisions. I don't have to research trips. I don't have to, coordinate flights. I don't have to make sure the rental car place has a 10-person cargo van. I don't have to determine who makes dinner. Like, I just show up and do my thing. Now, what was the key was that first trip was epic. I mean, we had the Yellowstone River is beautiful. You float through Paradise Valley. We were doing it ourselves. We had amazing campsites, in the middle of the river. We swam, we floated, we just had, a beautiful time in a great place. So the first one needs to be somewhere strong. So people at the end of it say, that was incredible. I never would have none of us would have ever gone to, Gardner, Montana and gotten in a canoe and canoed 80 miles down and spent 3 nights on the river. We're all adventurers, but it was just, off the map for us. So if that first one can be really, really strong, you will have set the tone and people will want to come back every year and the slots will be filled. And, maybe other than babies and weddings, people clear the deck. They're like, I'm going on the big trip. So honey, don't plan anything, or we're not planning any, or I might miss, a friend's wedding or whatever. So babies and weddings, of ourselves are probably the only reasons, a few folks have, fallen out.
There's times I've been like, I'll catch the next wedding they're in.
That's right.
But at babies, no, you can't be missing that at all. Wow. So that first trip, what was the biggest mishap that you would say happened on that first one?
Probably the biggest mishap was I severely somehow underestimated the amount of beer that we would need on this trip. And we ran out about the second day or maybe third day. And we knew that we were going to float right through the town of Livingston, Montana, or very near Livingston, Montana. So we sent 2 guys ahead, took all the stuff out of their canoe, and we sent them ahead, and they were good paddlers. They got up early and they kind of did a several mile sprint down the river, pulled the canoe over, walked up on the road, hiked a mile into Livingston to the grocery store, resupplied, pushed a shopping cart full of a couple of more cases of beer a mile down the highway and met us at lunchtime to resupply. So that was maybe the only hiccup of the trip. And, beyond that, our food was amazing. The catering company had, packed trout and steak and chili for lunch. And we had brought these 2 big Coleman stoves, dual burner stoves, and had these amazing, islands and sandbars that we could sleep on. And, it was really, the weather cooperated. The stars aligned for us really well on that one, and logistically it just went off extremely well. So we actually didn't have any big hiccups on that one, and went back to Bozeman, which is a great town, and had a big old fun night and dinner at the Outlaw restaurant, and the next day got up and limped to the airport and came home.
Oh my gosh, what an adventure. What an adventure. Yeah. So let me ask you this. Do the leaders of the trip change year to year, or is it the same two people?
That's a good question. So our original plan was we would rotate it every year with a random card draw. So deck of cards, end of the night, or end of the final night of the trip, draw cards, and two highest cards or whatever those guys would plan it. And what we found was, it just is what it is. Some people like to, do this research and plan and kind of have a logistics mindset and put all the pieces together. And some people just don't. I mean, it's just not their, they just don't like to do it. And so we rotated it for a while, and then really found probably, and had some great trips. So, we still had great trips, but there just wasn't as much of an interest. So there's probably 3 or 4 of us who really enjoy, doing the deep research to find, the components that come together and work for a trip. So usually that group comes together once a year and figures out what the trip's going to be. And everyone, it works fine. Everyone's glad to turn it over, and the trip continues to get great, remarks. So that's how it works.
Planning a trip like that could be pretty overwhelming for a certain personality, or you have 12 people taking a lot of time and money out of their life. You don't want it to be, underwhelming. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I don't know. Has that ever happened?
No, I wouldn't say so. I mean, it's never been an underwhelming trip.
Honestly, 12 friends together out in the woods having a great time. You could be walking in circles and it'd be more fun than just sitting at home all weekend.
Yeah, and the hard work is honestly, you have to find to fit our mold, which is typically that Wednesday to Sunday, or some have gotten a little bit longer, but you need to be able to leave Nashville and be on the trail the same day, or on the river the same day, or on the mountain the same day, or in the kayak the same day, and so, we're having to fly, land, rental car, drive, and activate the adventure all on Wednesday. And we try not to fly out and spend the night in some town and then start the trip the next day, because we just don't do well in civilization as 12 guys. So we try to avoid civilization at all costs. So to find a geographical place that's far enough out there, and we have gotten out there for sure, to do that all in one day, it makes day one really long, but it's kind of an essential component. And then you need to have a method of transportation each day, whether it's, on foot, kayak, sea kayak, raft, canoe, snowmobile, sailboat, Jeep, whatever. Each day have good campsites, or backcountry, always backcountry campsites, that are reasonably spread out, and then be able to get back and fly back on Sunday. So that's really the hard, and do something new. You don't want to go do a river trip every year. So, you might do a river trip, then need to switch to a different type of trip. So we try to balance water, mountains, something else.
So speaking of that, the first one being the Yellowstone River, you've mentioned a lot of different types of things. Tell us about, you just celebrated the 15th one. Tell us about some of the variations of what the trip has been and where you've gone to be able to get there and do something on the very first day. You're limited in a degree, but also there's still so much at your disposal.
Yeah. So this is the fun part. I mean, to look back now after 15 years, and this is a part of all of our lives, to have gone to these places that we probably never would have gone to. Again, we all like to be outdoors and adventure, but to do these types of trips, we've gone to some really cool places and done some neat things. So not in any particular order, but going off of memory. Again, the first one was 80 miles on the Yellowstone River. We did 400 miles on snowmobiles in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan in February, which if you haven't been to the UP in winter before, it is a really, really snowy, isolated place. So, imagine going from tiny town to another town for 50 miles in the woods on a snowmobile. Really, really cool experience. We did a hut-to-hut hiking trip in Colorado near Leadville, the 10th Mountain Hut program, which is a cross-country skiing, backcountry skiing, but in the summer you can do hut-to-hut hiking there and tack on some 13ers around you, which was terrific. Maybe my favorite, we did a open cockpit sailing trip in the Exumas, Bahamas, which the Exumas are a chain of 90 uninhabited. On the north end of Exumas is a big crescent of 90 almost uninhabited islands. Some of them are tiny, the size of a football field, and some of them are slightly larger. And we had 4 sailboats that were basically large canoes with 2 masts and no cockpit or anything. And they would sail in about 12 inches of water, and we would just pull up to a deserted, uninhabited island and camp out there. And so that was an amazing one. And no motors, no engine. You wake up, you look at a map and say, all right, we need to go, 10 miles down and hope the wind works with you. There's no plan B. If a storm comes in, you're stuck. We did a stand-up paddleboard trip on the Chama River, paddleboarded in northern New Mexico, which was, class 2, occasional 3 rapids, and camped on the side of the river each night. It was amazing. We did a Jeep trip in Ouray. A few of these have had engines, the snowmobile and the Jeep one. And there's just hundreds of thousands of acres outside of Telluride and Ouray to mountain bike and Jeep. So that was just exploring. We did a Ducky kayak trip on the main Salmon River, which was incredible, camping on the side of the river in these amazing campsites, super secluded part of the country and absolutely terrifying rapids. We did a fall summit trip of the Grand Teton a few years ago, which was a guided trip, but a great one. We did a sea kayaking trip in the San Juan Islands up in the Puget Sound. People think San Juan Island and Orcas Island. We were way north of those, on these tiny little national park islands, almost to Canada, and sea kayaked, around point to point each day to a new island. We did a multi-sport trip in Cuba, did one international, and then the last one was a dirt bike trip down in Baja, Mexico, all the way down the Baja Peninsula, kind of bouncing back and forth from the Pacific over to the Sea of Cortez, riding through the desert. So that's not all of them, but those are some of the highlights. And again, you think back to, we never would have done those things to the level that we did, and just really, really amazing.
Frazer, every one of those could be its own podcast episode. You know that, right?
For sure.
You're saying this, and I'm imagining a collage of pictures, and I think you're representing 90% of what we talk about on Adventure Sports Podcast. The types of trips, the types of experiences, the mediums that you're doing them through, and the variation of where you're going and how you're getting there. It's unbelievable. And the fact that you can put one of these together every year with such busy lives and wife and kids, it's incredible. And the fact that it's going on so long is just awesome. I definitely commend you guys. And I can say guys because it's all guys.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
So how many people have gone through this? Has it mostly been the same few folks, same 12 folks, or has it changed quite a bit?
We have, and people are proud of the number of years that they've been on the trip. So we have maybe 5 that have made every trip. A lot that have made every trip but 1 or 2. And then we've had a little bit of evolution of a few of those. But I'd say 70% of the people have been on 12 or more of these trips. And and you're right. We could do a podcast on every one of these and laugh hysterically and talk about epic experiences and scary, cool, scary, challenging times and hysterical moments. And we do a lot of that on the trip. We look back and talk about, remember the time when, so-and-so, this happened or whatever. And the breadth of the experiences has been so fun.
Is there a certain time of year you shoot for? Because you've talked about stuff in very hot climates and very cold climates with snow. Is it typically the winter, or does it vary year to year?
Yeah, when we started out kind of pre-kids, we could pull off, July time period, which is really good. Once we started having kids, that's more of a family vacation time. So we've really pushed it now to early September because kids are back in school. And it's just an easier time window to pop out for a while. So early September, it's still warm enough in the mountains. It's still, warm enough to be on the water. And, it's a good kind of tight little window there to work with.
Look, staying healthy isn't easy. Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed is the only bed that effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. Don't miss our weekend special. Save $1,000 on our most popular smart bed and adjustable base. Plus special financing. Ends Monday. Special financing subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See store for details. Look, staying healthy isn't easy. Watching your diet, hitting the gym, avoiding stress. But a good night's rest helps boost your overall health and wellness. And it couldn't be easier. The new Sleep Number 360 Smart Bed is the only bed that effortlessly adjusts and responds to both of you. The result? You wake up ready for anything. Proven quality sleep is life-changing sleep. And now the new Queen Sleep Number 360 C4 Smart Bed is only $14.99, plus special financing, only for a limited time. Special financing subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See store for details.
I'm actually a huge fan of that time of year as well. Right around then is just about when we also plan big trips. You can get some really hot weather then, but it's usually before the snow. But the seasons are starting to change. It's great time of year, and it's a little quieter out in the mountains or anywhere that's popular with tourists or visitors.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. I'm kind of selfishly putting together a plan for myself because I want to do this. Except the only problem, Frazer, is me and all my friends, we're all type B people, so we're gonna have to put someone else in charge.
Well, we have a lot of these itineraries that are like nearly packaged up, which I can give you 15 trips nearly in a box of where to go and what to do. And so maybe if you just get to type B plus, then you'll be okay.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. I can muster that up every now and then.
There you go.
When it comes to putting this together, so many people, when they start something, have this inkling to make it bigger or to make it more, make it even a company or a service that you provide and grow it into something bigger than this, outside of that friend group. Has that ever been a temptation for you, or has it intentionally been, I want to keep this what it is and make it as good as it can be just the way it is?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing, we did talk to a really good local outdoor store here in Nashville called Cumberland Transit for a while about, giving them or licensing them or, having some partnership on the trip because we have put in all the work on these itineraries and what we ended up with was they agreed to give us a gear discount if we needed to gear up on things, in partnership. We support them quite a bit as their local gear shop. So, beyond that, we don't have time, we all have day jobs and families and stuff to do. So we just take it for what it is and try not to make or can't make, more than it out of that.
No, that's good. I love what it is. So you just finished your 15th one, are you already in the throes of planning the next one? And what can you share about what you're planning to do in the future? Or is there a list of just, I'm sure you guys all talk when you're out there like, oh, it'd be cool if we did this, and then the ideas probably just grow.
Yeah, so we've got two guys who are signed up to plan it. COVID has thrown a little bit of a curveball into this year, as with everything. So, we plan to keep it going. We've got some good ideas. Don't yet have it calendared, but still have that mindset of, once that email comes out, we'll have it on the books. So even if we have to do something, take it back a little more local, we'll do that just to keep the momentum going. But that's really where we are on it, and look forward to seeing where it goes. I if you'd like, I've got some great anecdotes or stories from some of the past ones I can spin through if you want to hear some of the kind of more wild or intense experiences that we've had out there.
No, we wouldn't like to hear that. I'm just playing, man. Of course, I want to hear the stories. That's what this show's all about. But before you do, I have to reiterate, one email goes out. That blows my mind. I ordered socks for work the other day to get some designed. It took 150 emails to get socks designed and ordered. You get a whole trip together for 12 people with one email. That blows my mind. Congratulations on that. Jeez.
Well, the more you do it, the more it works, and the threat of just you have to pay up front. So pay up front, non-refundable, and that's the forcing mechanism. So
perfect. I love it.
That's it.
Well, tell us some stories about some of the things that have happened, whether that's the good, the bad, the ugly, the highs, the lows, anything from logistics. Just share some of your favorite experiences from the past 15 years, if you can even summarize it. That's crazy.
No, I've got some good ones. Some of the ones I usually tell. The Salmon River trip, we flew into Boise, Idaho, and then we caught these crop duster tiny airplanes to Stanley, Idaho, which is a cool town and barely has a paved runway. And we actually had to take 3 airplanes across 12 of us. That's how small these planes were. And the guy in the last airplane is a terrific guy from Louisiana who's hysterical, and they were late and taking off, and there were a bunch of forest fires out there, and so we all flew around the forest fire, and his pilot was trying to catch up and make up time, and said, well, I'll just fly straight over it, and I'm instrument rated, and we'll catch up to him. And about midway through the smoke, the plane was getting bounced all over the place, and the pilot turns to our friend Alan and says, I don't think this was a good idea. I've never done this before. and my friend Alan is white knuckling, grabbing, this tiny 4-seater airplane. So sure enough, he comes popping out of the sky and joins us. And, but that trip also is huge, big rapids. I mean, big water river. And, we have 12, we're in those inflatable ducky boats, if you've seen those, that are you're not strapped in like a hard kayak, but we had guides. You have to have guides on that trip to get a permit. So it would be flat, and then you would hear this massive rapid up ahead, class 4 or 5 rapid, just like a roar ahead of you. And we would pull over on the side of the river, and the guide would draw in the dirt where to go on the rapid. He'd be like, go to the right. If you go left, you are going to be in a lot of trouble. But then you would line up in these 12 boats, and by the time the end of the group came through, you had no idea where to go. So it was full on yard sale, time after time. So that was a good one. The sailing trip, because you have no motor, you're at the whim of the weather, and we had a couple of major rain and windstorms and blow through, where you literally are sailing across these flats, and the other boat could be 20 feet away from you, and you couldn't see it for 30 minutes, and then the storm would blow out, and you'd all kind of gather back up and shake the rain out. So that was those were pretty intense situations. And what else on our paddleboarding trip? This was fun. We camped one day next to this pretty good little 2+, maybe 3 rapid. And one of the guys had brought a little drone on the trip. So he just parked the drone about 12 feet over the water in the middle of the river. And we took turns going down, trying to stick this rapid and wiping out, and had it all on drone footage. So that was a good one. And then maybe last one, the sea kayaking trip up in the Puget Sound. The water there is so deep, and the channels are really, really narrow, and the tide is huge. The tide's like, I don't know, 10 or 12 feet. So when the tide's coming in and out, the current is, and the tides are just massive. The water's moving so quickly. And we, I think it was our last day, we were leaving a campsite, and it was a confluence of two of these tides, and just randomly, the Puget Sound was totally flat except for one spot where these tides collided. And there was a giant circle, probably 200 yards across, of just standing 3-foot waves in every direction. And we had to go through it. So that was kind of an interesting paddle and 2-person big long sea kayaks.
Jeez.
Going through. So
interesting.
Those are some of the highlights. Yeah.
My goodness, man. That is so, it's so varied. How much do you have to prepare for these sports? Because sailing, you just can't walk into a sailboat and know how to use it. How much goes into getting ready for these trips and getting each person prepared for what they're going to do?
Yeah. I mean, you would be surprised. The sailing one is unique. And I've done a good bit of sailing in my childhood and growing up. And so we had 3 or 4 guys who were good enough. And then, everybody else was kind of riding. And then once you get the hang of it, but that one was a little unique in that it's kind of a technical skill. The others, though, you'd be pretty surprised that if you're generally in good shape, and we're all active and in good shape, kind of fundamentally. So you can hop on a paddleboard if you've never done river paddleboarding, and you might fall a lot on the first day, but the second day you'll pick it up. And if you've never been kayaking in a ducky down the class 4 rapid, you'll fall out, but then you'll pick it up. And it does take us out of our comfort zone on some of these things, which is a cool part about it as well. But you're more shelf ready than you think you are if you just get out there and give it a shot. And but we're also safe. Like we bring a spot device. We make contingency plans. We're good at reading maps. We're not out there screwing around. We're having fun, and we're often pushing it, but we tend to try to prepare as well.
Do you have a story that you could share real quick from maybe some growth, or just maybe someone that was apprehensive, or an experience where someone really made an enormous personal achievement, and you got to witness it and basically think to yourself, I'm so glad we make this happen every year?
Probably Grand Teton was one for a lot of folks, because it's or Salmon River. Those were probably the two that were that had the most intensity. Teton, you can go up Teton in a day based on which route you take, and we were on one of the more challenging routes where you really have to be roped up for a lot of it. And you're standing on there's a section called Wall Street where you go up this this rock slab that's maybe 1.5 feet wide, and then you have to do this step over where you take your left foot and step out onto something about the size of a thimble, and below you is 800 feet of open air, and then climb up. So I think that one, because of the just intensity of having to be mentally on for 6 hours up and 5 hours down, was a cool one that connected with folks from that standpoint that you're talking about.
So what in closing, what advice would you have for folks or groups of friends out there that are always kind of talking about this stuff and really want to do something but really just don't know where to start? Outside of your formula, what do you think is just most important about making this happen and getting out there? Yeah,
I mean, don't wait. Like life at however old you are, at 45, I look back and this is a flash. Like all of these trips are a flash. And I can't believe that, that much time has passed. So do not wait. The years will start clipping by, and it's easy to just kind of be apathetic and say, well, I'll go do a trip with one or two other guys, or I'll just go do one by myself, or I'll go for a trail run or whatever it may be. And, it's worth the effort. And don't wait, just start, just start with the first one would be it.
What do you have coming next? Do you know? All right. Hey, the email hasn't come out yet, so you don't know.
Yeah. Don't know.
But you're going.
Look forward to it. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Man. Too cool. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, I think that's it here. I'm a huge fan of your podcast and an avid listener, and, love all the folks that you have on as well. So keep doing the good work that you're doing. And I've told a lot of folks about you and will continue to do so.
Oh man, I really appreciate that. You're too kind, Frazer. It's I'm very type B, very, very type B. So you might not like just our rambling sometimes on the show, but hopefully it's an outlet for you.
It's great.
Busy life, but all right, man. Well, thank you so much. This has been great, and I'll let you know when it comes out.
That sounds great, Mason. Thank you so much for having me.
First of all, thank you so much for listening. It means the world to us that you choose to listen to the show. If you'd like to help us further, you can leave a review on iTunes, share us with your friends, your family. It goes a long way to growing the show. You can also support us financially through patreon.com/adventuresportspodcast. Link is in the show notes. And also, if you have an idea of who could be a good guest for the show, we're always looking for people to tell their story about the outdoors or adventure. So if you know someone, please reach out. Email us at info@adventuresportspodcast.com. And until then, get out there and have some fun.
If your loved one is at risk of a fall, the Symphony Medical Alert System from CVS Health can help support their safety in their home with 24/7 emergency monitoring, even when you can't be there. Terms and conditions apply. Learn more about Symphony at cvs.com/symphony or find it at your nearest CVS Health Hub.
Now more than ever, it's important for you and your family to enjoy the spaces you're in most often. Visit FergusonShowrooms.com to shop online or schedule a personalized consultation to meet with our experts at your local Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting Gallery. Together we'll help you make the most of home and create a space you'll love to live in. Get started on your project and discover extraordinary products like the Orizo chandelier from Progress Lighting.